I have to tell everyone, I'm speechless, actually. I can't describe how I'm feeling. It's just a great honor to have this taken place, this put together by Gorman. And, I've known all these people, Sal Consiglio and Flo and Bobby and Ricky, who I've known forever. And it's just so truthful. The whole thing is just loaded with just fact and truth and feeling. So it's just remarkable. So I thank you for that, really. I want to take that opportunity. So I would, these are not my questions, these are the library's questions, so I apologize for that. I misinterpreted the engagement. They called me and they said, would you like to participate in this, in the viewing of the film and do a Q&A? I said, oh, yeah, okay, sure, I will. So our marketing director called me. He says, you all set? I go, sure, yeah, sure. She goes, well, did you get the questions? I go, yeah, but those questions, I'm going to be asking those questions? She said, yes, you are. So I was like, oh my gosh. So here we go. So let's start from the beginning, the genesis of the project. How did this come about for you? What was the moment, if you would?
Well, I had made a music documentary, and my wife had said, you really seem to be really good at this when you're doing about things that you're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, you should just keep doing passion projects. Maybe you should make one about pizza. She was joking. I destroyed pizza for my wife. My wife will not eat New Haven pizza anymore. She's had heard too much. But then I'm like thinking, that's a great idea. No one's ever done one on the 3 famous pizza places. My closest friend in the world is Dean Falcone, who did this amazing music. And we started talking about it because we're both ridiculous pizza snobs. And we literally started saying this might be the next film. And we started interviewing people very slowly. You were one of the very first people we interviewed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so that was the genesis.
And did you have childhood experiences with did you grow up in New Haven?
No, I grew up in Waterbury, which is the other big Italian town in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
I started coming to New Haven when I was playing in punk band in the late 70s. And all my friends would bring me to Sally's, Pepe's, and Modern. And we moved there in the 80s. And the thing was, we had actually moved a couple blocks from Modern, which was always open late. And my wife was working a store where she wasn't getting out sometimes till 10 o'clock. So it was one of the few places we can eat during the week.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I destroyed her pizza. We were just going there all the time.
Right.
So, but as I sort of really became a part of the New Haven scene, I started really falling in love with these 3 places.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sure. I love the title. Loving pizza, growing up with it, loving my whole family, my grandparents. So I just thought the title was absolutely perfection. And how did you come up with it?
It was just a takeoff on movies that you see where you see the title of something, a love story.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, for me and Dean, one, it was a love story about our love for beats, but it was also a love story. I mean, there are 3 really strong families here, and especially the people. Your grandfather and Philomena, Sally and Flo, and Bill and Mary, and so there's the own interpersonal love stories for each of the places. So I think it really seemed to fit.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Can you share some anecdotes or stories that when you were producing the film that did not quite make it to the final cut?
The thing was, most of it honestly made it, and we have a few extras here and there, and they're more like longer scenes. And I was trying to get as much in there as possible. One of the things that didn't make it because we couldn't film it. So in looking, we're looking for all the celebrities. I mean, we even reached out to Jodie Foster with Yale. She was like, well, after all the incidents, I never even went out. But we really tried to get Bill and Hillary. And we thought, why wouldn't they talk to us? We're not asking, I don't care about politics. I want to talk to you about pizza.
Right.
But we just could never get them. That was the thing that we didn't get that we really wanted.
Gotcha.
That was our holy grail.
I love the editing of the film. Just it's really cut. It's crisp. The the imagery and the overlay, the voiceovers and so forth. My God, it must have taken you a very long time to.
This film took 11 years to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I recall. I mean, knowing your wife and going to the to Willoughby's for a coffee. She says, "Oh, don't worry. The film is he's working on it. He's working on it." And she was actually trying to be apologetic. And I said, "No, I completely understand. It's we're dealing with an artistic creation, and of course I was very understanding with that. So it has been that long.
It really was, but the biggest thing was finding some of the historical photos. You guys, Pepe's was well documented. You go into Pepe's, there's amazing pictures on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
We had great videos between you and Gary Ramonti. We had great pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Sally is a little bit better,
Right.
Modern. There was nothing from before Bill,
Right.
really. And there's when we finally see the neon sign with the little boy standing in front,
Right.
that was something we found on eBay. A bunch of negatives that just said old pictures of New Haven from the 40s.
Wow.
And we get them and they're labeled, and this one said State and Humphrey. And we looked at it and there's the freaking signs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was one of those like fortunate moments, but that was something we were looking for forever. And also then getting a celebrity. So once you finally got one, which was Lyle Lovett.
I loved it.
Once we got Lyle, people started falling in line, and then Jimmy Koplick, who got us Michael Bolton, and
And I'm curious about Henry Winkler, because I recall one day I went into the pizzeria, and on booth 15, my cousin Gary was talking to Henry Winkler. And I'm like, how did Gary get to know Henry Winkler? And I was, at the time, Henry Winkler was doing these commercials about reverse mortgages. And I went to him and I said, Mr. Winkler, I go, why are you doing that? But anyway, it's kind of funny. But I never understood the connection from my cousin Gary. Apparently he knew Henry Winkler very well.
Well, Henry, remember, he went to Yale drama school.
Right.
And I think the funny thing with Henry was, one funny story is he answers his phone himself and then hands it to his assistant. So he'll hear that distinctive voice and then he gives it to his assistant. So, but with him, we tried forever to get. It's like, he's going to be here. We could never arrange our schedules. And he finally said, I have to be in this. And he had his nephew film him on a cell phone. And that's why it looks like that.
Okay, good. Thanks for clarifying that. I enjoyed modern, as we all know, Frank Pepe's has expanded, and as well as Sally's has now. And so there's time has gone by, and so that neighborhood feel has turned more into places of destination, as they always were, but now even more so. But I was really touched by the fact that modern has kept its charm. Not that our place isn't charming, but it just really kept that neighborhood feel. And I think that I give him a lot of credit for that, just to maintaining what he loves to do and doing it well. And so
he doesn't have 25 grandchildren yet.
Okay, that's true.
Right.
And he's still a young man.
Yes.
And so he's not even thinking about an exit plan yet.
No.
But I thought it was very interesting, and I loved Bob and Ricky's interviews, and Ricky especially saying, we're talking about the water and what does make a great pizza and all that, and he goes, TLC. And a lot of, that's why I go back to the title of the film, And it truly is a love story. And having grown up in it and just being part of that, this legacy, I found that it was just so true. And the beauty of it has always been for me was that the whole world comes to you. All these people from all over the world come to you and they carry that experience with them wherever they go. So I thank you again for that, because it was like really remarkable how widespread it has become, you know, the lure of pizza.
It's funny, since the movie came out, and then, you know, and with the Portnoy reviews as well. I'll tell you a little story about Dave Portnoy. So we go to interview Dave Portnoy, and I said, well, you love these three places. Will you say that New Haven is the pizza capital of the world? And he goes, no. I'm like, why? He goes, because Bar sucked. And I said, and me and Dean immediately, no one counts Bar as good pizza in New Haven. It's Sally's, Pepe's, and Modern. You know, we're genuflecting in front of, you know. And he goes, really? He goes, anyone, and we're like, we're both, if they told you to go to Bar was good 25 years ago. The Bar is nothing now. It's bad Bar pizza.
Right.
And he said, well, in that case, New Haven is the pizza capital of the world.
Very good.
So we were the ones who got him to
Gotcha.
make that admission.
Gotcha. Well, Bar, I recall when Bar,
When it opened.
when it opened, they were basically, they were emulating Sally's, I believe.
There was an employee from one of you guys. It was either you or Sally.
I think it was Sally's.
Okay.
I believe it was Sally's, a little thinner.
Yeah, it's definitely thinner. Yeah. But it's not what it used to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you hope that people take away from the documentary? I just find it, I've seen it 3 times now, and it's just so enjoyable. I still enjoy it, watching it again and again. So what's your hope that people take away from it?
I mean, one, that first off, that it helps put New Haven on the map, but that everyone loves pizza. And I get into arguments online all the time with people who say there's no such thing as bad pizza. That's nonsense. There is a lot of bad pizza. I mean, if you've ever had a slice of Domino's, you know that pizza can be the most disgusting thing on earth. But there's also pizza that rises to the level of, 3-star Michelin, 3 Michelin stars.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what we have in town. I think we take pizza and bring it to a level that no other town does. Not New York, certainly not Chicago, not Detroit, which is bad grandma's pizza anyway. And any of those places, I think we bring it to a level that makes it gourmet food. And it shows that pizza is not just, sure, it's comfort food, but it can also be really spectacular, as good as that, whatever you would order in whatever 5-star restaurant, that's what New Haven pizza is.
Well, in terms of what we did, and as well as Sally's and Modern, it's consistency, like Bill from Modern was saying, that it's a grind, it's a labor, but we do it every day. It's theater, and we tackle it on a day-to-day basis, just like what Bobby Consuita was saying as well. I found that great. Well, it affirmed to me anyway what the work that I did in the pizzeria, which is the same thing, and so it was really cool. What's your next project?
We always have a number, because they take so long, we always have a number of films. This is what I do for a full-time job, so we always have a number of films in production at one time. The big one that I'm really excited about right now, in 1970 in Connecticut, there was a music festival called the Powder Ridge Music Festival. It was supposed to be the next Woodstock. It got canceled at the last minute, but no one told the kids. So 40,000 kids show up to this little ski resort in Middlefield, Connecticut, and basically have 3 days of sex and drugs with no rock and roll. Yeah. And I have now interviewed something like 75 people that were there or were promoters, the promoter's son, the promoter's lawyer. There was mob involvement. There was the Hartford Courant did this crazy story about it, and it was all lies. There were so many things. Every time we would interview someone, it'd be like peeling back the layer of the onion. I've got access to 3,500 pictures that no one's seen. I've got hours of old Super 8 footage that people shot on site.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And there's so many funny stories. Like I interviewed the mobster's lawyer. The promoter was connected. And the lawyer says, "You're never going to guess how I got paid." And I said, I think I know, but tell me how you got paid. He goes, paper bags full of 20s, $25,000 cash in paper bag. And that's how every person got paid on this thing. So there's so many crazy stories, and the town clamping down on it, the amount of nudity that was, and the town's clamping down on it, and yet people are handing out binoculars so they can watch it. It's just a beautiful story about a failed rock festival.
Was it a one-off during the night? That was it?
It was 3 nights.
Oh, it was three
nights.
Okay.
So, and the one person who played was Melanie, who snuck in because she said, "I look like every other hippie girl here, no one's gonna pay attention." She sneaks in with a news truck. She plugs in her guitar, but there's no power. The town, in all its brilliance, cuts the power on 40,000 kids on a hill in 90-degree weather. So Melanie gets a couple of sound guys to hook up our amp to a Mr. Soft, the ice cream truck generator, and she plays her set. So I mean, it's like I said, everything about it is just
fantastic.
Yeah. So that's the next one I'm really interested in. The other one we just started working on in Connecticut, another Connecticut one. Do you know Best Video in Hampton?
Yes, I do.
Okay. It was started by a guy named Hank Paper, and he decided he's going to open a video store in 1985, but he's going to be able to recommend every movie on the shelf. He gets 500 movies, and he wasn't getting Rocky and that. He was getting stuff that he said, "These are great films. I recommend them personally." And that, where video stores are all gone, they have 42,000 movies. They're a video library. They're one of 4 large video stores in the country left.
They're still there?
Yeah. And we're going to do a sort of like this interesting story about the love of film.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And now the music, I love movies, and I think of like Scorsese, the way he interpolates the music and the research involved, whether it be rock and roll or classical. I just find it incredible. How is that accomplished?
One of my oldest friends is Dean Falcone, great musician in town. Basically, he can play pretty much every instrument. He always ends up bringing out another drummer because he doesn't like the way he plays drums. And we worked together on this, and it was just like, here are sections. He'd write the music, I'd give him notes, we'd get the final score, put it all in. I mean, so in this case, it really was going through the film and writing things that fit. I love the urban renewal section because the music is like thumping drums, like machinery building things, and it just fit that whole, the tearing down the city and hopefully building it back up.
That was a dramatic time. I remember as a young boy in the early '60s when they were just tearing the city apart.
Right.
And like Mayor DeStefano did say that this was, thankfully, Pepe's would save Sally's. But everything else around, there were some beautiful brownstones across the street from Frank Pepe's on Worcester Street, just lying in the street, and all torn down. Yet the infrastructure was so dilapidated, and they didn't have the means to do what we can do today in terms of reconstructing beautiful buildings.
Well, I mean, think also though, when you think of New Haven, that Route 34 connector, which is finally finished after 7 years, something like that. It's
right.
That also says a lot sometimes about New Haven. So, unfortunately.
Right. Well, does anyone here have a question?
Okay.
It's more of a comment. I don't know any of the 3 pizza restaurants. I wish I did. But there was a discussion out front, and the suggestion was made that we have a little pizza sampling going on. And no, we don't want to offend one pizza company over another. But I would have liked to have known the pizza that you're all creating.
I mean, and with me, there were these three places. And it's like people always ask me, well, okay, which is your favorite? And it honestly comes down to what mood I'm in. I have favorite pie. If I want a cheese pizza, I'm gonna go to Modern. If I want the plain or the potato, I will go to Sally's. If I want the clam or I want the fresh tomato in summer, which is a pie that I can't even explain how good it is. It's chunks of fresh tomatoes. I go to Pepe's. So it depends on what mood I'm in. I have different. If I just want big, thick cheese. I mean, Modern puts the most cheese on. So they're all a little bit different.
But any of them sound better than some of the crap we have here.
Oh, everything's better than what you got here. Yeah, you don't have pizza here. I'm sorry. There's pizza and there are 3 pizza places. That's it. There is, no, I'm not joking. There are no other pizza places on the planet. It's not pizza.
Next time, please share a sample.
What you think you're eating is not pizza. So just realize that. Okay. Yes.
I have a question.
Sure.
You guys, you took exit strategy, whatever, but should you franchise Pepe's Pizza? There's one in Fairfield, there's one in New Haven, there's Zero,
Yeah.
one in Sanford eventually. How do you maintain, and I don't know if it's you or whoever else, how do they maintain the line? Like a 100-year-old pizza that you went on to a big.
It's a great question. Right.
It's got the flavor in it. How do you bring that flavor? Sally's is down in Stanford right now, whatever. How does that work?
Well, we've been at the expansion now for about 18 years, I believe, since our first store expanding was in Fairfield. And so that oven is well seasoned at this point. But it is a challenge. The oven has to be seasoned. It takes time. My cousin Gary, God rest his soul, he would take bacon fat and lard and so forth, and he would burn them off on the bricks and just for a couple of days. And sounds awful, but he would do that to give it some seasoning, if you will. But we work at it all the time. We're building other stores. Obviously those ovens are new, and it is a progression. It takes time to evolve. It's not perfect, for sure. It's just not perfect.
Back.
Hi, first comment, it would have been nice to have a byline of why I love it, because I sat here going, who the heck is that architect?
It was there on the very first.
Really, I didn't
Yes.
see it, was that Senator Murphy?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I didn't see a name there.
The first time they appeared as a byline.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see it. In relationship to this wild west that we have coming up of disavowing gas stoves and electric stoves and all these other things, and they want to stop all the fire burns. My God, you're going to pollute the whole nation and world. What's going to happen to the ovens?
They're all grandfathered in at this point.
They're grandfathered, and if we've done the research with the is it the FDA? Not the FDA. It's the Environmental Protection Agency, and it's not even a blimp on the screen in terms of the emissions and so forth.
And also, we're talking about pizza. We can give up our cars. We're not giving up pizza. Let's be real here.
Exactly, okay.
Are they coal-fired?
They're coal-fired.
Except for Modern is actually gas-fired. When the oven collapsed in the 70s, then when they rebuilt it, it's gas-fired.
Yeah, it's another. Using coal is a challenge. It's a day like they were explaining in the about the fire. I think it was Bobby Consiglio was explaining about the fire dies out, and then you might have some embers in the morning, and then you would restart it again. With the case with coal, you need to really start it with a good amount of wood. Whereas with the coke that they were talking about, you really didn't need much to start it. We used to use flour bags to start the coke. The coke is very much like charcoal briquettes on, in terms of our home grills and what we used then. It was pretty easily ignited and it burned very well. It burned beautifully. It was turned into powder. Whereas the coal really has a high ignition point. I believe it's like 900 degrees in order to ignite the coal. So it's a little bit more difficult. And I remember that transition when there was no longer any coke and we had to go to coal. And so there was a big learning curve with my grandfather how to get that coal to ignite. So it was a big deal. It was a big deal back then. And it was in the late 60s. And Grandpa died in 69. It was in the late 60s, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank everyone for joining us.
You wanna close it out or?
Thank you again, guys. And if anyone wants, I do have copies of the DVD, if anyone wants to purchase a copy of the DVD to bring home and watch the extras.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And thank you for teaching us about the real pizza.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.